WinForms now officially supports dark mode in .NET 10, but there are some significant limitations. In this video, I'm going to show you how to enable dark mode, as well as walk you through what those limitations are and if they might apply to you. Now, for most of my training, I work to give you an in-depth perspective on technology, but sometimes you just need a quick answer to the question, how do I do this? That's why I created this 10-minute training series. So let's jump right in. Here we have Visual Studio 2026. I've got a WinForm project, that's a .NET 10 WinForm project already set up. I did make a couple of modifications. I have this form with just Hello World app. It's still form 1. A name and then say hello. I did also modify, add this line right here. I have a my DPI is set for 200% on my machine, so I said Force Designer DPI unaware. That way it won't be a problem going on to somebody else's machine. So this is just a basic setup. I do have in the code behind here one simple line that just says hello in a person's name in a message box. So with that, let's run this. I'm going to type my name in here and say hello, and it says hello Tim. That's all the application does. Now this is regular out-of-the-box WinForms with just a couple modifications by me to make it a somewhat usable app. Now let's turn on dark mode. So you have program.cs, and before we hit the application.run, so between the initialize right here and the application.run, we could do before the initialize as well. Let's just do it before initialize. You can see, you can do it either way. Application.color, set color mode. And we're going to set the color mode to, we have three options, dark, system, and classic. So classic is the light mode. Dark is obviously the dark mode. And then system is going to look at your machine and choose light or dark mode. And this is where the first limitation comes in, but we'll come back to that in just a minute. So let's just set it for dark mode right now. We hit save, and if we open up form 1, it's still in light mode. Now it gives that warning, DPI unaware is what's set. That's fine. So it's still in light mode in the designer. And this is one of the limitations of this dark mode editor is I have not yet found a way to make the editor show it in dark mode. So it does say that you have to set this before you set any of your controls up. Now, I believe what that means is that if we look in the form1.designer, this is where all of our controls are configured, right? So a new button that says hey, hello button, and a new label, a new text box, and all the rest. That's where those get set up, which then get rendered onto the form like so. So I believe this line needs to be before any of those controls get set up. Otherwise, it'll be the old or the original mode. However, that's what the documentation says. It says set this up before you set up any controls. However, it still doesn't affect the designer. The designer seems to not pick up on that change from program.cs. However, if we run this, we're in dark mode. Now, it does make somewhat sense because of the fact that you're developing in light mode or dark mode, and you want it to be visible for both. So it's kind of a, doesn't really matter, I guess, in some ways, what they're thinking. I'm not sure, or it's just a complicated thing to do. So in any event, that's one of the limitations of this dark mode. But notice, it looks great. So it looks like it's in dark mode. It is. It has changed the Hello World app from being black to being white. It's changed the name from black to white. It's changed, if I type in the text box here, that's white now, white text now because of the fact we're in dark mode. The button hover correctly works. So it all looks good. Now, here is the next limitation of this dark mode. That is not in dark mode. So this message box does not work with dark mode. It doesn't respect your system. It doesn't work with how your system works. So if you want to have a message box that shows in dark mode as well, or respects the system's mode, then you have to build your own or use a third party. So that's one of the areas, and you'll find other controls like this. Not many, but you will find a few out there because of the fact that WinForms is based upon the Win32 libraries that didn't have dark mode. And so they're slowly moving those libraries over to support dark mode, but they are saying that it's not a bug if you find something that's not in dark mode yet, because they know it's just that they are slowly working over what they can. It's kind of dark mode is being patched onto Win32. So that's one of the areas you're going to have to look out for, and just note that if you have a full application that's, already built, and in that one line of code, you say, hey, let's turn on dark mode. Well, you might not get everything to switch over, and then you have to decide, do we switch back or not? The good thing is it's one line of code, right? Give it a shot, try it out. But the other thing is that this dark mode will only work on Windows 11. It will not work on previous versions of Windows, only Windows 11 and beyond. So also note that if you put this in expecting it to work, but then you deploy it to a Windows 10 machine, well, then it's going to default back to that light mode theme or classic. So that's the next thing as well, that even though you say dark mode, it might not be. Also, I mentioned there's another issue here in this list, and that is system. So system is going to pick up on whatever your system setting is, your system theme, and it's going to choose that as the theme for your WinForm project. However, if you're running the application and then you change the system theme, let's say you're in dark mode in Windows and you launch this application, it's going to be then in dark mode. But if you change Windows to be light mode, your application will not change, not until you restart it. So that's another limitation. It's not a big deal, but you will note that your application doesn't change when Windows changes the theme. So I think it's another one of those limitations of Win32 and kind of backporting how dark mode works. The other thing that's going to be a limitation here is that this does not work with high contrast or other accessibility themes. So if you are using an accessibility theme in Windows where it's high contrast, then this is not going to work with dark mode. So it's just going to revert back to the normal light mode experience. So yes, there's some caveats to this. Yes, it's not perfect, but it's also WinForms. When have we ever seen perfect for WinForms? So, Microsoft supports this still, and it even encourages people to use WinForms when they want something quickly built. But there are some caveats and limitations to it. But there's an awful lot of code out there that still runs on WinForms. So if you can get upgraded to .NET 10, which will give you a lot of performance boosts, but if you can do that, then I would encourage you to check out this line and just see if it works. And then I would encourage you then to set it to system by default, because that way it conforms to whatever the user is using rather than forcing them into the theme that you like instead. So that's dark mode in WinForms in .NET 10. Again, this is a .NET 10 feature. Technically, it was in .NET 9, but it was experimental. It's no longer experimental. It's now fully supported in .NET 10. Again, with those caveats around only running on Windows 11, and in some things might not be able to go to dark mode. So if you want the source code for this, the link's down in the description. Thanks for watching. And as always, I am Tim Corey.